In a brand new home, nestled deep within the grand old oak tree, a young squirrel blinked his eyes open to the morning sun. He stretched his fluffy tail, ready to start the day with a tasty breakfast. But when he reached for his secret stash of acorns, his little paws found only empty space. They were gone. Again. This had been happening for days, and a tiny knot of worry tightened in his chest. Where could his precious acorns be going? He scampered to the edge of his doorway, a hollow in the sturdy trunk, and peered down. The forest floor was bathed in the soft, golden light of dawn. His little nose twitched, and his sharp eyes scanned the ground below. And then he saw them a trail of tiny, almost invisible footprints leading away from the base of his magnificent oak. With a new sense of determination, he decided this was the day he would solve the mystery. Taking a deep breath, he began his descent. Down, down, down. He spiraled around the massive trunk, his claws gripping the familiar bark. The world grew larger as he got closer to the ground. Once his feet touched the soft moss, he followed the mysterious footprints. They led him across a sun-dappled clearing, where wildflowers bloomed in a riot of color and butterflies danced in the warm air. The trail was easy to follow, a faint line weaving through the tall blades of grass and over fallen leaves that crunched softly under his paws. As he ventured further, the gentle sounds of the forest filled his ears, the distant song of the rustle of leaves in the breeze, and something else. A sound he hadn't heard before. It was a faint, happy chirping, mixed with the sound of tiny objects rolling and clacking together. It was the sound of laughter. Curiosity now mixed with his worry, the young squirrel crept forward, hiding behind a large, moss-covered stone. He peeked over the edge, and his eyes widened in surprise. There, right at the base of his very own oak tree, was a bustling scene of activity. A whole family of cheerful chipmunks was gathered in a circle. They were chattering excitedly, their striped backs bobbing up and down as they tossed and rolled his acorns like marbles in a game. For a moment, a wave of anger washed over him. Those were his acorns. He had worked so hard to find them, to carry them one by one up to his cozy new home. He had gathered them for the colder days to come. He felt his fur bristle, and he was just about to leap out from his hiding spot and scold them for being thieves. But then he paused. He watched them for a moment longer. He saw how they shared the acorns, passing one to a smaller chipmunk who hadn't managed to get one. He heard their joyful squeaks and saw the pure, simple fun they were having. They weren't being mean or destructive. They were just playing. And as he looked closer, he noticed their cheeks weren't bulging with stored food, and they looked a little bit skinny. They looked hungry. One of the chipmunks, a brave little fellow with a particularly twitchy nose, spotted him peeking from behind the rock. The game stopped instantly. The chipmunks froze, their eyes wide with fear, a half-eaten acorn dropping from one of their paws. The clearing fell silent, except for the gentle rustle of the wind in the oak leaves above. Slowly, the young squirrel stepped out from his hiding place. He tried to make his face look as friendly as possible. He didn't shout. He didn't scold. He just sat down quietly on the grass. The brave little chipmunk took a hesitant step forward. "We're sorry," he chirped, his voice barely a whisper. "We saw the acorns falling from the big tree, and we were so hungry. We didn't know they belonged to anyone. We were just borrowing them for a game." Hearing their story, the squirrel's anger melted away completely, replaced by a feeling he hadn't expected: empathy. He looked at his new home, the giant oak tree that stood so tall and strong. It felt so big and empty, especially now that he was all alone. He had been so focused on filling it with things, with acorns, that he hadn't realized how lonely he was. A new idea, a much better idea, sparked in his mind. He looked at the nervous faces of the chipmunks, and a warm smile spread across his own face. He gestured with his paw towards the pile of acorns. "It's okay," he said. his voice soft and reassuring. "There's plenty to share." The chipmunks looked at each other, their expressions slowly changing from fear to disbelief, and then to delight. The little brave ones scurried forward and pushed an acorn towards the squirrel as a peace offering. The squirrel accepted it with a nod, and in that simple exchange, a new friendship was born. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange, pink, and purple, the scene under the great oak tree was one of pure contentment. The young squirrel and his new chipmunk friends sat together in the warm glow of the evening. They didn't just share the acorns, they shared stories and laughter. The clearing, which had once seemed so quiet, was now filled with the happy sounds of companionship. The young squirrel realized that having a home was you weren't just about having a roof over your head or a pantry full of food, too. It was about sharing it with others. His house in the giant oak didn't feel so big and empty anymore. It felt like the heart of the forest, a place of warmth, friendship, and community. He had lost his acorns, but he had found something so much more valuable. He had found friends. And as darkness fell and the first stars began to twinkle in the sky, they all knew this was just the beginning of many happy days together, under the watchful branches of the great oak tree.